Having a budget you understand and consistently use is crucial to taking charge of your finances. Mint by Intuit is one of the top budgeting apps out there and is completely free to use. But is this a case of you get what you pay for, or is it worth the download? I'm Bradford with the Penny Pincher Guide to Personal Finance. First, make sure you hit that like button so we know to make more videos like it. Let's start out by taking a peek at what the Mint app looks like. So jump into the app itself, the default view is going to be on the overview screen, which I think actually provides a really nice snapshot of what is going on with all of your finances at any given moment in time. It gives you what is your net worth, which is simply all of your assets minus your liabilities, shows you what your spending is for the current month, what kind of cash you currently have available in your accounts, shows you what your investments are. I delinked mine just for this example video, shows you what your current credit cards are in terms of how much you owe for your next payment, and it also shows you your loans. Now, one thing that I'm going to point on here that is an issue with Mint is that I had already linked and synced up all my loan accounts, but it is not showing them. They have continually had connectivity issues where you have to resync and re-verify multiple accounts. So that's just something to be aware of. In the upper left-hand corner of the screen, it's going to show you your current credit score according to TransUnion. What I do really like on here is it gives you a breakdown whether you have an excellent or a poor credit score, as well as a breakdown of what is actually going on in terms of what is actually impacting your credit score. And a nice feature down here is that you can actually dispute things that are falsely on your credit report directly with TransUnion. So that's a nice feature. Now let's jump back over the overview screen. If you scroll down here, it's going to just have a more detailed breakout of your cash accounts, credit cards, loans, investments, your property. Something that I really like here is that you can actually sync your property through Zillow, and it's going to give you a Zestimate so you have a more accurate understanding of what your overall net worth is. And if you continue down here, it's going to show you all of your recent transactions, which you can expand to see all of the most recent transactions. And then we start getting into the actual ads, which is how you're able to get this app for free. Now, I'll talk about the premium experience at the end of this overview, but let's continue on into the actual budget view. So clicking onto monthly, it's going to show you, cool, this is your monthly budget. This is mine for February. Not everything's accurate since I have desynced some of these accounts. Something that's on here that I don't like is how it shows you your February cash flow. So one of the restrictions with Mint when it comes over to its budget is that it only shows you your budget from the first calendar day of the month to the last calendar day of the month. So with me, for example, I get my payments a day prior. So I get mine on the last day of the month. So in this situation, it was January 31st for the beginning of February. But because that payment, or rather my paycheck, was posted on the last day of the month, it's not included in my February budget. And it shows that I'm way overspending when that's not actually true. Now, this could be an issue of user error, and I haven't figured out the correct way to be able to set that up. But for right now, that's an issue that I have with how the budget is set up. Now, it does give you your bills and subscriptions in terms of what things are due coming up. I really do like that, and you can set it up so it'll actually give you notifications on your phone. Now, let's scroll back up here, and we're actually going to do a breakdown of the budgets. Another critique that I have, cool, it's just doing a little snapshot of what's going on with the budget, some updates to the app. You can come in here, and it's going to show you, okay, so the gray is how much I've allocated for the budget for this month. Green is how much I've already spent, and it just shows the total breakdown on the app here all the way to the bottom, and then it breaks anything that's not in one of those pre-allocated categories down at the bottom. Another issue I have with how this is set up, and this is more of just like a personal preference, is that when you first open the app, it's going to give you a bunch of predetermined categories because it thinks you'll like them. Now, for me, at least when I set up my budget, I prefer to start from a clean slate and move from there and set up all the categories how I like to view them. So again, more personal preference might not matter to you, but it did matter to me. Let's jump over to the marketplace. This is just all the different ads, all the ones that you could ever want that Intuit is going to market to you through Mint. Do you want a new credit card, personal loan, home loan, investment, insurance, savings, student loans, auto loans? All of them are in there. Down here, notifications. This is just kind of showing a lot of things like, oh, do you have duplicate accounts? Do you need to re-verify an account, which inevitably you will need to do because of their connectivity issues. And then it also shows you what are your 3 upcoming bills. That's probably the most useful thing on the notifications tab. Let's jump back into the overview, and we're going to talk about the premium experience. It says Mint is rolling out a paid option. Click on Explore Premium. Cool, it's going to give you smart running projections, growth estimator, subscription management. I don't care about any of those. I'm going to go down to check out the other options so I actually see the comparison between the free version I'm using right now and the premium versions. So Classic is going to give you everything that I just showed you. You can still sync all of your accounts. You can still see your net worth, and you're not paying anything. You're just going to still have ads on the platform. If you really hate ads, you can pay $1 a month and get rid of them. It didn't really bother me when I was using the app, so I wouldn't recommend doing that, but to each his own. In their premium experience for $4.99 a month, you get all the same classic features. You don't pay for any ads. You will learn about your money's growth potential. I don't think that's worth paying for since there's a ton of different compound interest calculators out there on the internet where you can throw in all your own variables and they're completely free. Get help managing subscriptions. I think that's probably the most useful part of the premium, where it's going to let you know, hey, you have a Netflix for Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. You have a subscription to Planet Fitness and you haven't worked out in 4 months. Do you want to cancel it? Just being aware of what money is continuously going out the door is something that is helpful. See projected monthly spending. I don't think that's helpful because if you have a budget already set up, that's telling you what your projected spending is going to be anyway. And you also get daily updates on your trends. That may be useful for you. I wasn't quite willing to pay for it because I know what I'm going to do on a day-to-day basis. But if just having an app that shows you what's going on and what your projections are helps you stick to your finances better, then it can certainly be worth it. And that about wraps up everything that is in the app. So let's go now and talk about some pros and cons. Great, now that we have an idea of what the app actually has to offer inside of it, let's break down the pros and the cons, starting with the pros. So right away, I think the overview tab that it has is really nice. It lets you see what's going on with your investments, what's going on with your property, any debts, credit cards, or other loans that you have. And it also lets you see your credit score, which I think is really cool to be able to see all of that in one space, and you don't have to go out and aggregate that information yourself. Another thing to mention working from it is you can get all this completely for free just with some ads that are in there. And if you use other Intuit products like TurboTax, you can actually see what is the status of your tax refund right in the app itself without having to actually go log online. The last thing I want to mention that I think is really handy is that it gives you notifications for upcoming bills and other things that you have going on, and you can set it up so it'll give you notifications that'll pop up on your phone itself. So it's like, okay, I have my credit card payment that's due next Friday. I can make sure I have the money set aside to be able to pay that off. While Mint does have a lot of great things going for it, there are some downsides. So let's talk about the cons now. The first thing is that while you have the free version, there are going to be ads. You can obviously pay to upgrade. I didn't think the ads were that intrusive, but it's something that might bother you. Probably the biggest negative that I had for Mint dealt with how it had its budgeting set up. Now, as I mentioned in the overview of the app itself, having the pre-populated categories might work for you. It was definitely a downside for me because I like to have a clean state when I start with my budget. The other thing is that it only includes the calendar month of day 1 to the end of the month and doesn't include anything outside of that to actually affect your current budget. So you can probably play around and make your budget work. I think that's just another hurdle that you have to jump over to consistently budget and stay on top of your finances. Mint also does not offer any sort of joint account. So while if you're single, this isn't an issue for you, but if you're married and you want to make sure you're on the same page when it comes to your budget with your spouse, yes, you can both link up to the individual accounts that you have and see what's going on with those. But when it comes to budgeting, you're going to have to put a lot of extra work in to make sure you're on top of the same budget. You're basically going to be doing twice the work to get the same outcome compared to some other apps that do offer joint accounts. And the last con I want to touch back on is going to be those connectivity issues. It's definitely a nuisance to have to continually resync and re-verify accounts to make sure you're getting the proper information that's being imported from those accounts. Now, I would imagine at some point this is something that Mint is going to fix, but it is a free product, so expecting some extra steps that you're going to have to do because you're not paying for it is something to be expected. So what's the verdict? I think downloading Mint is definitely worthwhile, especially because it's free. So if you don't like it after a little bit, you can always delete the app and you're not out any money. Probably the biggest thing that I like, and is one reason I've decided I'm gonna actually keep Mint on my phone, is to be able to get that overview tab to see what is going on with my finances, what is my net worth, and I can just get a good picture of what's going on without having to go log into multiple different accounts. Now, I really didn't like how the budget was actually set up within Mint, and so I'm gonna stick with the spreadsheets that I currently use, but especially if you don't have a budget, having something is always better than nothing. And maybe the way that Mint has its budgeting software set up works for you, and if that's the case, all the power to you. It's just not my cup of tea. Now, before you make your decision as to whether or not Mint is a right fit for you, make sure you check out a review of YNAB and tells you why you need a budget. Thanks for joining me today, and until next time, just remember to pinch a little.